Oh, Mom, I'm sorry. There seems to be no reservation, right? Layla, my eldest son's wife, wearing a formal dress, looked at her tablet and grinned at me. It can't be, though, can it? I definitely asked you to make the reservations, didn't I? Huh? Are you blaming me? You just forgot to make the reservation, didn't you? Layla looked at me and four of my friends with an incredulous expression. Just a few days ago, when we were discussing the reservation for a party of 5 at a high-class French restaurant managed by my eldest son, Layla said, "If that's the case, I'll make the reservations," volunteering herself for it. My friends exchanged glances, observing how things would unfold. Well, if you forgot, there's nothing we can do. Could you prepare seats for 5 of us now? I guess it's all my fault, isn't it? After letting out a sigh, Layla said, "I'm sorry, but I'm too busy being the hostess. I don't have time to deal with bored old ladies. Please, just go home today." She said it decisively and raised her hand towards the direction of the restaurant's door, as if indicating that the exit was over there. The 5 of us were left dumbfounded by Layla's attitude, unable to say a word, and she, as if saying, "Whatever, go and see for yourself," let out an exasperated laugh, catching the attention of a passing waiter. "You're leaving already," she said, and with those words she turned her back to us. Seeing the waiter confused by our unusual behavior, I directed my attention towards Layla. "I understand. Well, then let's shut down this place," I called out. In response, Layla momentarily paused, laughing as if dismissing my remark as silly, but as she turned back to us, her expression quickly turned pale and she stammered, "What? Wait." And with a voiceless gasp, she looked at the thing in my hand, unable to utter a word. My name is Erica. I am a 64-year-old widower. My husband passed away in a traffic accident shortly after our eldest son Tucker was born. I raised Tucker on my own as a single mother. From a young age, Tucker had a passion for creating things, especially cooking. Whenever I came home tired from work, young Tucker would eagerly present me with dishes he had diligently prepared, and eating them made me feel motivated to do my best the next day. And so, driven by my happiness and his desire to improve his cooking skills, Tucker expressed his ambition to become a chef, and immediately after graduating from junior high school, he embarked on an apprenticeship as a cook at a certain well-established traditional French restaurant. He disregarded my suggestion to attend high school, opting for early technical skill development, and courageously dove into the demanding culinary world at a young age. Initially, he was only allowed to do the dishwashing and faced significant hardships, but thanks to his innate sense, dexterity, and relentless efforts, he rapidly climbed the success ladder. Finally, at the young age of 32, he received an offer to establish a separate branch restaurant and ended up owning his own high-end restaurant. However, it's worth nothing that the restaurant had a different name. It was what you might call a certified establishment, as it proudly bore the name of the original master chef. It was around that time when my son met Layla, and from my perspective, he was brimming with confidence and fulfillment as a chef. After dating for just 6 months, they got engaged, and Layla took on the role of the hostess at the restaurant. She was the daughter of a renowned food critic, but she had no experience in restaurant management. "I've always wanted to try something like this. Once I become the hostess, I'll have Dad help with the promotion." Layla's carefree and playful demeanor, akin to that of a casual waitress, convinced Tucker, leading her to take on that position. According to what I've heard, since she couldn't do her own makeup and clothes, she visits the beauty salon daily, and then she comes to the restaurant right before opening, leaving all the table service to the experienced waitstaff, without even bothering to memorize the names of the dishes. Occasionally, she would engage in conversation with the celebrities she saw, or simply wandered around the restaurant. However, thanks to the excellent staff and Tucker's culinary skills, the traditional French restaurant was thriving. However, Layla became increasingly frustrated with the fact that even though she was the hostess, people did not listen to her at all, and in fact, they even took her lightly. She directed her frustration towards those in weaker positions. The moment I noticed it was when I went out for a meal with 2 friends. While we were chatting in a private room, Layla came over to us. "Thank you for coming today." She greeted me like a hostess. When I asked her about the details of today's menu, she immediately called for one of the servers. "Let him explain it to you," she said, handing it off to the server. The server seemed to be a newcomer and stumbled while trying to explain. "Can't you even remember that yet? We are a prestigious French restaurant, you know. We don't need useless people like you around here." She began a lengthy lecture to the server right in front of us. The server had a look as if he was about to cry, and remained silent. I felt troubled by the situation. "Layla, that's enough." And when I tried to get her to quit, she glared at me and retorted, "No, please, don't meddle in our training. You're just a stranger. I guess all you have to do is eat the good food. Do you understand the struggles I've been through?" she said with a pained expression. I thought to myself, "Then can you remember the name of this dish?" And when I pointed to an impressive simmered dish, Layla visibly choked. Well..." She seemed flustered. My friend burst into laughter, and behind us the server was trying to hide his face, holding back his own laughter. Layla noticed the server's reaction. "What are you laughing at?" she yelled at him, and he panicked. I'm terribly sorry," he said, and bowed in apology. I let out a sigh. "It's the bourbon-simmered chicken wings and duck confit, right? You should educate yourself before trying to educate others." I just had to say it. Layla must have glared at me. "How dare you humiliate me? Remember this well," she shouted in an uncharacteristic, tough manner completely unsuitable for a high-class restaurant hostess, and stormed away with heavy footsteps. That's not a good sign for the future. Originally, when Layla first came to greet us at our house, she looked around our small, old, two-bedroom apartment in the public housing complex with a curious expression. "Having grown up in a place like this, do you really have a palate?" she asked. I replied that Tucker had been in training since he was 15 years old, so he must have developed his palate during that time. "Huh? He's a high school dropout?" she asked in response, and Tucker and I looked at each other and nodded. "I haven't heard about that. On top of being raised by a single mother, a high school dropout, huh?" she murmured softly, deep in thought. I remember thinking that she looked ladylike in appearance but gave off an unpleasant vibe. However, since she's the woman Tucker chose, and he's already in his 30s, I didn't feel it was my place as a parent to meddle or object to their marriage, so I didn't oppose it. Looking back now, I believe the joy of having someone come into Tucker's life who used to be reserved and focused only on cooking was greater. Layla's quips were often directed at the simple and reserved Tucker. "I'm the one who married you, you know. Can I say I want a divorce?" She would say words like that. In the end, she even teasingly showed him divorce papers with her name written on them. "I can leave any time," she said, making it seem like she had the upper hand in the relationship. Tucker, who had no interest in anything other than cooking, might have thought that women were like that. It might have also been scary for him to receive criticism from her father. However, Layla's domineering behavior at the traditional French restaurant only escalated, and she started meddling not only with the servers but also with the kitchen staff. "Hey, can't the dishes be a bit more Instagram-worthy? My reputation is at stake, you know. And also the dish names sound tacky, so I'm going to change them. Let's add some trendy truffles." It seems like she was saying whatever she pleased, causing trouble for Tucker and the others in the kitchen. As a result, the staff morale plummeted, with many people gossiping about her behind her back, and some skilled individuals even chose to leave. The negative atmosphere couldn't be hidden, and while the taste of the dishes remained unaffected, people's interest and enthusiasm gradually faded away. It felt as if a single rotten apple was spreading decay to the rest of the barrel. Worried and anxious, I called my eldest son and his wife to my home on a day off, hoping to help relieve them of their daily fatigue. It must be tough every day, right? Just take it easy here for a little while. However, Layla sat next to Tucker with a frown. "Even if you say take it easy, it's so cramped here." Muttering complaints, she barely touched the food I had prepared and seemed eager to leave. I couldn't hold it in. You know, Layla, I apologized for the other day. I also think I wasn't very understanding. And when I took on a magnanimous attitude, Layla glanced at me and said, Well, it was uncalled for. Even I have my position to consider. Thanks to you, it was quite unpleasant for me. She expressed her anger as she spoke. I took it very seriously. Yes, I feel bad about it. I'm sorry for acting like an amateur. I lowered my head in apology. Then Layla's mood seemed to improve. It's fine, as long as you understand, she said and started devouring her food. Do you have any alcohol? I'd like some wine. When she was told there was no wine available, she said, Then go buy some. You feel bad about it, right? She asked. At that moment, Tucker interjected. It's all right. I'll go buy it. As he tried to get up from his seat, Layla sounded hysterical. I wasn't talking to you. I asked your mother, she shouted. Tucker, it's fine. I'll get some snacks while I'm at it, I said, and left the living room. Layla seemed to think that I had already left. It's all really poor cooking, and yet she acts all high and mighty at the restaurant. This isn't the kind of food you can eat. She was venting her frustrations with venomous words. I always paid the full amount at the restaurant, even if I didn't eat much, so I didn't deserve to be spoken to like that. Tucker seemed to have had enough of her behavior and... Handling those simple flavors skillfully requires a lot of difficult techniques, you know? I got my taste buds from my mom's cooking, he said, trying to defend me. However, it seemed like that didn't sit well with Layla. Huh? You mentioned before that you entered culinary training despite being a high school dropout. You said you developed your palate through that training. In other words, you had irresponsible parents who didn't even let you attend high school. She said whatever she pleased. Even Tucker finally had enough and said, Hey, enough already. But Layla's momentum didn't stop. Shut up! I married a high school dropout, you know. I can leave anytime I want. She said her usual quips and continued to eat the food heartily. If she has so many complaints, she didn't need to eat the food in the first place. I pretended not to hear her words and quietly went outside to do some shopping. After a glass of wine, Layla seemed to be in a better mood and started talking happily about what was going on at the restaurant, so I kept up with her. But all that came out of her mouth was bad-mouthing the restaurant staff. Seriously, that waitress is completely useless. And the young ones in the kitchen are so irritating. They ignore me when I try to talk to them. It's so frustrating. Unable to bear her endless complaints, I gathered up my courage and said, Hey, Layla. I know it might not be my place to say this, but you should consider being more attentive as the head of the restaurant. Otherwise, your position might suffer. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she angrily threw the contents of her wine glass at my face. For a moment, I was stunned, not knowing what had just happened. You're just lecturing me, aren't you? I was in a good mood, and now you ruined it. If business is bad tomorrow, it'll be your fault. She said these completely illogical things, left me soaking wet with wine, and called a taxi. Tucker rushed over with a wet towel to help me. Are you okay, Mom? He wiped me off, but then Layla got a call saying that taxi had arrived. Tucker, let's go. I have an early start tomorrow. She scolded him harshly, and he looked concerned as he said, I'm sorry, before leaving with her. Feeling a sense of futility, I finished tidying up and took a bath. As I got out of the bath, I received a WhatsApp message from a certain someone. How'd it go? There was just one line written, so I replied, I'll talk to you later. I might have messed up, I replied. Thanks for all your hard work. Well, there's no helping it if it comes to that. Be prepared for it. The reply came back. I replied, Understood. I'm sorry too. I'm tired, so I'll go to sleep now. Good night. After sending the messages, I suddenly felt exhausted and fell asleep like a log. In the morning when I checked what's up, I found a reply from that person saying they were taking a break, and also received a worried message from Tucker. In response, I sent, I'm alright, so do your best today too. The food is delicious, so be confident in yourself. I sent those messages to him. And 6 months have passed, but Layla's attitude remains unchanged, and the number of customers have been decreasing steadily. And then someone asked me, "Could you go and check on things?" So I invited 4 of my friends and visited Tucker's restaurant. And, as I mentioned earlier, Layla tried to make me feel embarrassed by pretending that there were no reservation for the 5 of us. I thought that if I didn't give her a warning soon, everyone would end up unhappy, so I resorted to a final measure. "Then, I'm going to shut this place down." As she stared intently at the photo in my wallet, she widened her eyes in surprise.
"The master chef?"
Yes, the person standing beside me in the photo was the master chef of the restaurant where Tucker first trained, and he generously allowed Tucker to start his own branch restaurant. It seems like she also recognized his face.
Why do you have a photo like that?"
It's because Tucker used to work at his restaurant, and I've been with him for about 15 years now. As I said that, Layla's body trembled and her attitude completely changed from before. She then clung to me, seeking comfort and support.
"But please wait. I beg you. Please keep this matter strictly confidential."
The master chef is not only known for his exceptional cooking, but also for being strict with customer service, and rumors about this restaurant's reputation had already reached his ears. So this time I was asked to visit the restaurant as a sort of reconnaissance mission and see how things were going. The master chef said his approval of the restaurant depends on my words. My son worked so hard to establish this restaurant, so I don't want to see it ruined. However, as a parent, I felt like I had to be strict. Just because we've been longtime lovers doesn't mean I want to make a move that could destroy the castle the master chef had built throughout his life with such dedication. And due to Layla's actions, the restaurant's reputation suffered, and it seemed challenging to rebuild the business with the declining number of customers. Moreover, in the case of high-end restaurants, once a reputation declines, unless the restaurant is exceptionally well established, customer traffic also decreases. The reason is that the upper class choose restaurants based on status above all else, not taste. The scariest part is being seen as someone who doesn't know any better, going to a restaurant with such a bad reputation. Moreover, a restaurant that had once received approval but had that approval revoked is considered bad luck, and I wouldn't want to get involved with such a place. Even if Layla dislikes me, if she can't handle her duties as the hostess, there's no chance for redemption. I quietly declared, "This restaurant is already finished." Layla tremblingly approached and clung to me, saying,
"Wait, please. I know. We can have my dad write an article about the restaurant. If he says it's the best, surely the customers will come back."
She proposed desperately. I glared at her and said, "Do you want to bring more shame to the owner?" I reprimanded firmly. Upon hearing my words, Layla took a step back, looking at me in fear.
"Is there no other way? Please, I'm begging you."
She suddenly changed her tone and pleaded desperately. Then something shocking slipped out of her mouth.
"If this restaurant disappears, I'll be cornered to repay my debts. Please, I'm begging you."
"Debts? Where did you—"
"Well, you see, it's for my appearance as the hostess."
As Layla stammered, a new waitress appeared out of nowhere and sarcastically remarked, "Fancy crocodile bags or luxurious mink fur, right? All for the appearance as the hostess, huh?" The waitress said, and quickly ran away. Layla looked at the waitress's retreating figure with frustration. Then she approached me with tearful eyes and finally knelt down in front of me pleadingly.
"Please, I beg you, protect this restaurant."
She said this shamelessly. Her attitude had changed drastically from treating us like foolish old ladies earlier. The 4 friends who came with me were utterly astonished by her behavior. I calmly replied, "Protecting this restaurant was supposed to be your responsibility as the owner. Since you neglected that, you should face the consequences." Upon hearing my stern voice, Layla sank to her knees and couldn't move, tears welling up in her eyes. Those who only want to reap the benefits and cling to the tree we painstakingly nurtured, like parasites, deserve to face the consequences. Afterwards, Tucker closed the restaurant, divorced Layla, and filed a large alimony claim. Her behavior as the head hostess had a significant impact on the closure of the traditional French restaurant, and the cooks and servers cooperated by providing testimonies one after another. As a result, a claim for nearly $100,000 in damages was granted. Furthermore, it was discovered that she had embezzled money from the restaurant, leading to a separate lawsuit for repayment. In the end, her parents paid for all the compensation and embezzled money, and she had to return to her parents' home. However, her parents, who had always struggled to deal with her behavior, eventually kicked her out of the house and made her work in a live-in factory job. Now it seems she spends her days working tirelessly day and night. As for Tucker, he returned to the Master Chef's restaurant and started over from scratch. The reason is that the Master Chef was also getting older and considering retirement, so he wanted to formally welcome Tucker as his successor. It seems like he was impressed by Tucker, who managed to maintain the taste of the dishes even in such a difficult situation at the restaurant. Dealing with Layla was tough, but it provided him with a valuable experience, helping me understand the difficulties of running a business. Now he approaches each day with a positive attitude, devoting himself to training and to upholding the reputation of the long-standing establishment. And now I am married to the Master Chef, and each day with youthful spirits we enjoy a happy married life full of excitement and joy. He had lost his wife before and was hesitant about getting married again, but in the end he confessed that in his final years he didn't want to regret and feel the pain of not being with me, so he proposed to me. Looking back now, I sometimes regret not getting married and living together sooner. By the way, Tucker is dating the new waitress who recently joined and moved with him to the Master Chef's restaurant, and they seem to be getting serious, possibly even considering marriage soon. She has grown steadily as a waitress, and now she's taken on a leading role as the head waitress, overseeing everything. She'll surely become successful. With both of them confidently managing the restaurant, they are now discussing their long-awaited trip with excitement as a married couple.